Let's go. Let's go.
Okay, and I'm going to switch on my video because we need to speak about today. Okay, on Monday, we looked at if statements. This week, we are looking at if statements. On Monday, we looked at if, and, which means an if and an if or, which means an if or an if. Now, today's lesson is going to be very short, and it's going to be very short for a reason, and that is that you can come back and watch the video as many times as you need to, because this type of work shows up in examinations. And what we are going to do today is called I call it a triple if statement. So, with no further ado, let's get started. I'm going to share my screen. Okay. Right. Now, to keep this simple, activity 6.3, which I avoided doing on Monday because it is the most complex of the lot. Let's go and take a look at that. I went into, let me just show you on Blackboard. I went into content. I've had students asking me, where is this stuff? It's under content, MS Excel, and then obviously you should know this already, Excel if statements, and here we go, 6.3. I have already downloaded these two, so I'm not going to worry about that now. I've got it here. Let me open my folder, and let's first take a look at the question, and then I will start to explain. It's 6.3 Premier League. Let's have a look at the question. If statements. Okay. The part, sort in ascending order and all of that you guys can do, you know how to do that. And then it says use the if formula. Not as simple as that. In the award column to show the amounts received by each striker according to type of awarded. Gold gets 500,000, silver gets 250,000, and bronze gets 100,000. And when you are finished, your spreadsheet is going to look like this, with your award being placed on the right-hand side, and this is your triple nested if statement. Now, let me copy something out the question paper to make this much simpler for you guys. The part that we are interested in is that. And I'm just copying that so that we can go and put it somewhere else. I'm copying it out of the question paper. Okay, right. I'm going to open the spreadsheet, and let's make it bigger again so that you guys can see clearly. I'm going to make that column a bit bigger because we've got quite a long statement that's going to go in here. Now we have to go and look at our criteria. So what I'm using is Notepad. Let me open my syntax. This 6.4 and 6.5 was for Monday. At the moment, we are dealing with 6.3. Okay. What do we have here? This is your basic syntax for an if, or another if, or another if. We call them nested statements. As you have a bird with a nest with eggs in it, it is something inside something else. So it is a 3 if statements incorporated in one, and we call them nested. So it's a nested triple if. Now, this is the syntax. If I want to simplify this for my students, I tell them, guys, learn that. Just as best as you can do, learn your basic syntax of your statements, your opening of your brackets, your closing of your brackets, and so on and so forth. Not every if statement is going to be exactly the same, but once you have an idea of the syntax, there should be no problem. Okay, let's have a look what they wanted us to do. I copied something just now and I'm going to paste it. Now they're telling us for gold, if it shows their gold, it must show me 500,000. If it shows silver, it must show me 250,000. And if it shows me bronze, it must show me 100,000. Now I'm going to say here, because it's if, remainder. That's an interesting one to remember. The last one we do not need to write an if statement for. It is actually the remainder. It is the, you have if or if, and the third if is slightly different. So we will see how that works now. Let's go back to the question paper. Okay, what do they want here? It's an award received. There we go. I must change the award column to currency with 0 decimal places, so I will do that. And then we can start to look at this, at filling up the syntax with the correct information. Okay, so minimize that, go back to my Excel spreadsheet. And we are working in cell E4. So the first one, before we copy down, is going to be in E4. So that is where we would need to do that. But it's already said to us, listen, change this to currency. So I better do that quick. I'm highlighting my cells, format cells. Currency, 0 decimal places. Okay, so that's been sorted out. So now a rand symbol will appear in there when the figure, when the answer is in there. Okay, I know I'm jumping around a little bit. So we are working in E4. Our first formula, our first triplet if statement is going to be in E4. Right. Okay. If what? If E4 equals gold, then it must say 500,000, and I'm not going to put the rand in there because it's already formatted to currency, remember. Then the second if statement, notice they're opening a bracket. If again E4 is equivalent to silver, it must be 250,000. Now, that's if number 1. Let's take a look here. If number 1, if number 2. Now the third if becomes unusual because the third if in here we put the remainder. That can be a little bit confusing to students.
I'm sorry,
because we
sir.
don't do it. Yes.
Wouldn't it be D4?
Let me check quickly.
That is absolutely correct, sweetie, because we're dealing with the middle column, which is D4. It's a simple error, don't worry.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Yes. I like it when my students are awake. Thank you for that.
Yeah,
D4.
that is good, sir. That means they're taking notes, sir.
Okay. Now the remainder. Let me just go back here. Okay, it's not letting me do that. If it is bronze, it is 100,000. So we have that here. How many times did I open this bracket, students? 1, 2. So I need to close it twice. So what we are having a look at here for 6.3 is 3 ifs. If gold, answer something. If silver, answer something. And if left over, answer something. That's a little bit confusing because I'm not saying that if, yes.
In silver, why did you say E4?
D4, sorry. There we go. Okay, so we're working on that. Was there a question?
Sorry, sir.
I'm listening.
So what about the browns? Is it gonna remain like that? Or you still you can only put the number?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. This is the little bit, the confusing bit. I don't go if again and use 3 brackets. This is a remainder. So anything that does not satisfy this gold or anything that does not satisfy the criteria for silver will be 100,000.
Mr. Smuts, may I come in?
Yeah, come in, yeah, absolutely.
All right. Okay, students. So you know that gold is 500, silver is 250, and bronze is 100. Now, if 2 of the 3 criteria has already been stipulated as gold 500, as silver 250, automatically Excel will pick up that the last incomplete or outstanding value and criteria will be bronze, which is 100,000. There's 2 ways of doing this, but this is the simpler way. The second way that I will show you is going to be even more confusing and more brackets involved, and 3 open on the one and 3 open on the other. That's why that's a very good question when they ask about, what about bronze? Excel will, as a genetic system, will detect that 2 of the 3 criteria has been stipulated, so automatically the third criteria should or must be, in this case, 100,000 bronze. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Pretorius. Good explanation. So, yes, we can do if and open another bracket if and open a third bracket if. But this thing becomes very, very long and very, very confusing for the students. That's why we do it this way. So, effectively, that is my statement, which I am going to copy. I'm going to go to my Excel spreadsheet. And I pasted it in there.
Check the formula bar, students.
Up here and down here. Okay, it's happy with D4 is gold. It's telling me that it's 500,000. Let us copy down and see what the rest does.
Mr. Smuts, just one thing. Students, when you see a formula like this, sometimes in the question paper, they will not tell you to autofill, but in your mind, if you see blanks at the bottom, what should you do? You should use the autofill handle as Mr. Smuts got it right there with a black cross, and he's going to fill it down. Sometimes the question they're not going to ask you, use autofill to fill the rest of the values in. You should know that by yourself. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Mr. Pretorius. Yeah, autofill is a given by now. We use autofill for everything. You should never have to type a formula twice. The same formula twice. Somebody's microphone is on, please. There we go.
There we go. Guys, there's some scratching. There's scratching. I can't. Yeah, it's messing with my ears.
Yeah, I also can hear scratching. Somebody, your microphone is on. Thank you. No, it's still on. Only in Teams.
It's like someone eating chips.
Yeah, it sounds like someone eating chips.
That was Tiago. There we go.
Okay. Now, to try and remember this, guys, somebody's making a noise. I'm just waiting for silence. Please, everybody, check that your microphones are muted. Somebody is disturbing the class. Check your microphone is muted.
Maria Tiago. Okay.
Right. Okay, thank you, Eddie. Now, let's see if we can remember this statement. There it is. I had it down here. Again, let's see if we can remember the syntax of this. And this is quite difficult. So have a very good look at the statement. If cell equals something, semicolon, answer, semicolon, if, open brackets for second if, D4 equals silver. So in the examination, you will be faced with something that looks like this. How many marks, Mr. Pretorius, generally?
Sir, this
10
can be 3 plus the brackets 2. We're looking at about 5, 6 marks, sir. So students, this is a very important formula. Very, very important. We're looking at 5, 6 marks for this type of formulas.
Anything up to 10%. So we know our criteria. So the way you would need to do it in the exam is equals if. Mr. Pretorius, help me here. Open our first bracket, man.
Right, open brackets. If
right.
D4, now we click on the D4 one, I say, is equal
D4,
to,
and it's text. I'm putting inverted commas because it's text.
Right. Close
semicolon.
Yeah, but semicolon or comma, depending on the software. 500,000. semicolon again.
Okay, you have
And
to
then
remember this.
Yes, sir. And then open up at if again.
Okay. If,
Open bracket.
second bracket,
If D
D4
forward
equals
equals to silver,
silver.
inverted commas.
Ah, yes. Very easy to make a mistake.
All right, comment again.
D4 equals silver,
Semicolon.
semicolon or comma, depending on your office.
250,000.
And now the remainder.
One more note, sir. That's 25,000. Just go back and put another zero in. Okay, click on no. And okay. And then you click save. And the rest
Right.
you just
We opened the brackets twice, so we need to close them twice.
Close brackets,
One,
close brackets. Save.
Okay.
And enter.
Now, Excel has not given me any error, and between me and Mr. Pretorius, we have typed this out of memory after understanding the syntax.
Correct, sir.
Okay, so yeah, it's a lot of practice. Students, this can be up to 10% in your final examination, so I want to keep this video short so that you can come back, watch again, until you are comfortable that you know this. Again, we use our full handle, copy down, there is our answers. Okay, for gold, silver, and bronze. These could be in an examination. What some examples, Mr. Pretorius, of the ones that we've used in the past in examinations? I know it's been the Olympics.
Yes.
With the gold, silver, bronze as well.
There was another one, something about like a javelin in sports athletics. The one that threw the javelin the furthest will receive like a platinum and a gold and a silver. There is so many criterias. What else is there? Like excellent, try harder, and poor. Or there will be another example of excellent, good, or poor. You know, criterias like that.
Average, good, things like
there
that.
We go. Those type of things.
So you will be faced with 3 of the criteria. So going back to my notepad, there we got our statement. So if I just go up to the top here, just separate it out. Why is it not wanting to do that? Delete. Okay, and that statement is you will see what I'm getting at now.
That's a very good question there. Sir, can we use the if functions as well? We are busy with the if functions, but I think the student is referring to if we can find the formulas like in your formula bar. So I think you can search for if is equal to in there, but because this is a nested one, rather Google search it and see what, or even go to a YouTube vid and see what if is equal to is all about. Thank you, sir.
In an hour?
Thank you, Eddie. Okay, now what I suggest here is 3 steps. Marketing. Right. I suggest when you are faced with this, you learn the syntax, you practice it. When you get to the exam, step 1.
Remember, students, this is the foundations being laid for next year. It gets crazy. So you need to get the steps of the foundations correct. Because next year, BIS 2, the old BIS 2, or what they call AIS 1 ABC, one of those 3 streams that you're going to choose for next year, Excel becomes, especially nesting formulas. They're going to mix an if with a VLOOKUP, with a today's date. It becomes crazy. We're laying the foundations here for you guys.
That is probably the best way that I can describe for you to approach this as a problem. So what you would do is when you get the question, use a pen, use paper, or use a pen and paper and write down your 3 criteria. Please be aware whether you are dealing with text or numbers, because that will affect whether you have inverted commas or not. Then write your empty syntax, which is what I showed you at the beginning. And I can make the syntax empty here again. So what you can actually do this to practice. I'm going to take out my criteria. I want to learn something that looks like this. Remember, the inverted commas are there because it is text and not numbers. If it is numbers, you do not need the inverted commas. So you can get the opposite happening, where you have a number and you need to write the gold, silver, bronze, and so on. Okay, so step 1, write down the 3 criteria. There we go, I've done it. Step 2, try to learn the empty syntax. It's going to help you so much. And then step 3, insert into your empty syntax the relevant data. And this is the way I've taught my students for the last since 2016, and there's been no problem. I can tell you that if you don't practice this, you're not going to get it right. In the final exam, it's normally only about 2/3 of the students that manage to get this one right. I would like to change that this year, and I would like to have 100% of the students getting this correct, because you're very definitely going to be using it next year. And then once you have done those 3 steps, you have your statement, and this is a triple nested if. So that is our process. You are faced with a triple nested if statement. Follow those 3 steps and you should be fine without any problem. Guys, do we have any questions at this point? Yes.
So this is a triple. What if it's more than 3, like 4, 5? In this case,
Then
what
it
are you doing?
becomes Yeah, good question. Then we have to use another if, and you'll have 3 brackets, or 4 brackets, or 5 brackets.
Correct, sir.
So,
Let's say, for example, good, excellent, good, better, best. That's like 4 or 5 criterias. So that means 4 or 5 brackets. That means if you say, for example, it's 5 criteria, you're going to punch in that if 4 times. And the last value, say it's a million, 800,000 is the second criteria. 600,000 is the third criteria. 400,000 is the fourth criteria. And the last criteria is 200,000. That is like really complicated 4 or 5 criteria nested one. So it can be done, yes. Thank you,
yeah,
sir.
it starts to look like this.
There we go. There we go, sir. Open brackets. D4. Let's call it
Equals
platinum.
platinum.
Let's call it platinum. Platinum. Close brackets. Obviously, the platinum must be in inverted commas again, sir. And then we close
Don't
it.
panic about this. It's just an example.
Yes, we're just taking it further now that someone asked for 4 or 5 criteria. Close brackets. And then we say one more if. What's it? Gold, silver, platinum.
Hang on. If D4 equals platinum, then what?
Diamond.
No,
Oh, yes,
then,
sir.
platinum, say 1 million.
Let's call it 1 million. So there by silver, we forgot also to put in an amount, hey? After the inverted comma by silver. Let's put in, say, 800,000. Semicolon. No, take the backspace. Semicolon. 800,000. Say. And then after that bracket, sir, we have a semicolon again, there by the 800,000. No, not in the bracket, outside the bracket on the right hand. One more to the right. There we go. Now you start the next.
Okay, so
there we go.
Yeah. To represent that for that question, yeah.
Now we must
if you have 4, it starts to get very, very long and very, very complicated.
1, 2, 3.
And I think the important thing to remember there is every time you open a bracket,
there we go.
If I open a bracket here, I must close it here. If I open one here, I must close it here. In this case, I had 1 open, 2 open, 3 open.
So we must close it 3 times at the end.
And we closed it 3 times at the end. So there's the answer to your question, yeah, but it becomes very long. I think that's something that you would worry more about for second year.
That's why we just focus on the 3 basic ones, like gold, silver, platinum. You know, we keep it simple.
Yeah. Okay. Did that answer your question?
Thank you, sir. Yes.
Okay,
Sure.
my friend. Is
Okay.
there any other questions, students?
Any other questions? I don't want to make this video too long because you guys are going to need to come back and watch it several times over. Any other questions, students?
Sorry, sir.
Yes.
At silver, you put the close brackets there and the platinum, but you didn't put them at gold. Why is it like that?
Just repeat that question. At silver,
you put at the close bracket, and at platinum you put at the close bracket, but at gold you didn't put it. There's no close bracket there at gold where we started.
Oh, they're by the 500,000.
By the 500,000, yeah.
Yes, sir.
Because that represents where it's opened, the original formula. where it starts.
Okay, yeah, if I move to the left,
Scroll a bit to the left, sir.
yeah, I'm trying to.
There's the bar. Click and drag.
Doesn't
Oh,
want to move. Let me just.
there we go.
Between your F's. Okay, you know what?
I know what he's trying to say.
I don't think we need this bracket unless you got a different explanation.
No. In mathematics, we learn about BOMDAS and BODMAS. So when we open the big block bracket first, we calculate the values inside the bracket before we lock it close. That's why we didn't close the 500,000, because there's information inside the big block bracket, like BOMDAS and BODMAS in mathematics, brackets, operation, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction. That's why the bracket is not closed there. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
All right.
Okay, any other questions, guys? Otherwise, we're going to finish off. It's a nice short lesson for today. It was only 40 minutes. I think, as Mr. Pretorius said, your marks are going to be published on, I think, Friday or on Monday.
In the September month.
So you can understand, you will be able to understand where you're at and how well you're doing. And I think we will start giving out averages. I do that with my students. I start to talk to you about your class average and then what your goal is for the final exam, because all that is left after this is the final exam, which counts 30%.
2 more
so
classes.
That is all that is left. Yes, Eddie?
Now I just wanted to say 2 more class tests and your final exam. So now we need to really seriously look at your marks, students, once we punch in after the SIG tests and reassessments. So we will, in the lessons in the month of September, we will show you your maths in student number format, where you are and where you're supposed to be, if you know what I mean. Thank you, sir.
Okay. And I would just like to mention to my students, the assignment marks are going to show up and the exam marks are going to show up on your blackboard. But I'm sure you are still waiting for the class test marks. Now, that is a strategy on my side for when we get to the end of the year and you have finished your final exam and you get, say, 47%. I then mark your class tests to find you that 3%. It passes about 10 times more, about 10% more students using that approach. So just please be patient with the class test marks. I use them at the very end in order to help you guys get through if you need those extra marks. Otherwise, if I mark them immediately now, it's not going to change again and you are stuck. So we are just focusing on the core exams and assignments. And I think I'm
sorry to cut you, man. Just before we finish up, can sir just show them again Blackboard content, Excel practical folder, where to find all these exercises, please, sir?
Sure, sure.
Then we can call it a day, sir.
I agree.
All right, students, Mr. Smuts' Blackboard. There we go. Inside your Blackboard, we go into content. On the tab on the left-hand side, and now we scroll down and you find the folder Microsoft Excel practical exercises or tasks, which is that one over there. We click on that, and all your exercises is inside there. Yes, you must submit your and where we are exercise.
Can be confusing the students is they're saying where is number 6.1 or 6.2.
Oh, okay. So if you see
or number 5.1 or 5.2, you're with me. So you need to be aware what we are working with. In other words, if you watch the video, you know that this week we are dealing with if statements. Please have a look at the schedule Mr. Pretorius posted on WhatsApp, and I think it's on Blackboard.
That's correct, sir.
The work
Sir,
plan for the semester.
the next question they're
You will-
asking, where do they submit these exercises? Activity submission tab, sir.
Okay, anyway, so there we go. There is the exercises in there. Where do we submit? You look on the left for activity submission.
Practicals only.
All
And
Excel submissions.
And there's your if statements inside there.
There's your if statements. And here is where you submit them. So when
All
you're
your-
done with all of them, you do them one by one. When you finished with your today's 6.3, you click on there.
And you browse.
You browse your files. Make sure it's closed.
Yes, very important.
File. Save. Close it. Go to my
And-
desktop. There it is. There it
And-
is. Open. And it's not
submit.
going to work for me because I'm a lecturer, but you go submit. And you wait until you get green here or purple here.
That's correct,
Pretty
sir.
much that's it.
Perfect. That is perfect, sir.
Okay, I think we call it a day. I don't want the video to go on too long.
No, you don't
Because
need to
the
zip
students
it.
need to come
Sorry, Mr. Smuts. Yes, you don't need to zip these exercises. Your zip will only play a role in your final exam and in your SIG test tomorrow or reassessment test. What's the
Okay,
purpose?
I can clarify this. I'm going to clarify this
Thank you, sir.
in terms of zipping. What do you zip? Because we have this question every day.
Two or more files is my answer. That's correct, sir. Especially
Because
database
access will be blocked if it's not zipped. In fact, Gmail is already blocking access
Yes.
inside a zip even.
I actually picked that up, sir, too, because the file is converted into a RAW. Then we must download it, re-zip it on our side, and extract it in a WinZip format. Because RAW is in WinZip, not in 7-zip. I picked that up.
Yeah, those are other zipping programs, students. So we just use the Windows zip. And access is the really important one. It always has to be zipped because access can contain viruses. It needs to be zipped. And if you try and send it via Gmail, even if it is zipped, Gmail can see inside the zip and then the receiver can't get it. So if I can just mention in closing, access is the one that needs to be uploaded to Blackboard every time. No emailing of it.
Okay, sir. What if we zipped already? Do we have to start over? No, you don't need to start over. It's fine. All that we're saying and explaining to you in general, access must be zipped and 2 or more files must be zipped, especially when it comes to tests, assignments, and your exams. But if you zip this exercise or whatever, then it's fine. You don't need to start over. No problems.
Sorry, Mr. G.
I've just put there one file is optional. You can zip it or you don't have to zip it. Yes, there was a
Sorry?
question.
No, like
Yeah.
my September exam, I didn't zip. I just submitted. I don't know if you received my work or not. I don't know.
Yes, we did receive it. I think the students were sending the question paper and the answer paper. I
Correct.
did not need the question paper, so I have a mixture of zips and non-zips. It's not a problem because
I
when
got
I
the
say
same.
they're one file, one Excel file, it's optional whether you want to zip it or not. So if you didn't zip it, yes, I did still get it.
Don't worry, students. The main thing for the September exam is that as long as your Excel sheet we received, we don't worry about the question paper so much. The reason why we did zipping for this exam is to prepare you for your final exam because you're going to get access in there. You're going to get theory questions in there and you're going to get Excel in there. So that 3 files must be zipped. This was just a practice to make sure that the students are getting used to zipping. So don't worry about it.
Okay, but what I've written down is pretty much what we zip. So if it's one file, you can zip it. You don't have to zip it. We don't mind. If it's 2 or more files, yes, you must zip it. If it's access, yes, you must zip it.
So let's call it.
If
I think we covered
yeah,
everything that we needed to
we've
cover
covered
today.
it. It's 51 minutes. Is there any last questions before we close?
Are we good, people? Are we good?
Any questions on the chat, Eddie?
That was the last one about the zipping to start over. So I think that's
Okay.
about it.
Okay, let's call it a day. I think the students need to go and work on this and have a look. You
Practice
can ask questions on the WhatsApp. And I'm going to stop the recording. Thank you for attending the class today.
Okay, Mr. Milton.
And I hope you get this. I hope you manage to get this concept right. And just remember, it's practice, practice, practice. Thanks, guys.